Hi all, welcome and welcome back to my channel. If you followed the tragic story of the Liberty County firefighter Chandler Kuhbander, who was kidnapped and unalived by his ex-girlfriend and fellow firefighter Reagan Anderson on June 24th of 2024, then you know that Chandler's mother, Jane Kuhbander, shed some light on the couple's toxic relationship as she begged the public to help her find her missing son, who she knew was in danger. And if you recall, she said the trouble between her son Chandler and Reagan ran deep.
Anybody who's given you any recent clues as to what may be going on with Chandler?
So we've traced all the way back to when this all really, it's been going on for years, but they've had a relationship for 7.5 years, and they've separated because it's just very toxic for both of them. My son did go on a date on Saturday the 23rd, and she found his car and where they were at and came and keyed his car while he was on the date, and he called the police. Choices in her actions, and she was trying to get him to come see her at any cost, and he just kept telling her, I was told not to, I can't, and every time we come together this happens. Fast forward to Tuesday was my daughter's birthday. He went to the gym that morning at Crunch Fitness in Savannah. My husband had talked to him before he went in and told him that she transferred a sum of money to him, and sometime subsequently she transferred it back to her, and then she again transferred it to him. He was told by my husband, do not touch that money, and call your lieutenant, let them know, or your captain, and let them know what's going on. And he did. And I do believe he's with her to keep them both in this world right now, because her headspace is really bad, and there's a lot of stuff that we just aren't telling everyone, to try to be able to work farther in. It's a very deep situation for the two of them. And
do you have reason to believe that Reagan is suicidal and your son is trying to comfort her through that?
Yes. There's been multiple occasions where she has attempted or gave the appearance of attempting to commit suicide. And my son had gone out several times to keep her from doing so. And this time there is a suicide note that was left, or a note in general that was left, explaining where to send her belongings to and how to handle her belongings, and that she is sorry to my son. Just one line, I'm sorry, Chandler, that's it.
But it's not like
that was written.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, that was written right prior to them going, her going to the gym where she met him at
the gym. So we know they made contact there at the gym. We know that much.
That's correct.
Okay. And this is not like him, though, to not let you all know, hey, I'm with Reagan, she's needing my comfort. This is unlike your son.
He didn't even want to meet up with her, and in some previous text messages, we don't have his phone or anything, but we were able to find his watch, where he's just telling her, I'm not going to meet with you. I cannot meet with you. You cannot come here. I am not coming to you. It's just constant him telling her no. And he's very much a creature of habit, and all of this media attention, he's going to be so upset and so embarrassed because he's a private human being. And he's very driven to do the right thing and make sure people are safe. And he really does care about Reagan. You just don't give up 7.5 years of a relationship and not care about someone.
Sure.
And he would have never not come to his sister's birthday.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. And, you know, I don't know Reagan and Chandler, your son. He sounds like a wonderful human being. I do know the cycle of domestic violence. I volunteer in that movement, and you said some things that have some red flags going up in my mind. Has she used suicide as a threat to keep him in the relationship in the past when he's tried to break up with her?
Yes.
Okay. And that's a very telling sign of abuse, going on. That is a form of abuse to try to threaten. Nobody should be put through that. Everybody has the freedom to exit a relationship at any time. I wish we had more time to talk, Jane, but we're out of time for now, but we want to keep the conversation with you going. As we kind of close out just this talk for now, tell me, are you hopeful? What's next? What are you feeling right now in this moment here?
I'm terrified.
It's so heartbreaking to listen to how scared she was while Chandler and Reagan were missing, knowing that she knew so many more disturbing details about the relationship between the two than she could say. But now, Jane has shared more information about the relationship between Chandler and Reagan and the toxic events that led up to Chandler's abduction in the parking lot outside of Crunch Fitness. And they're very alarming. She shared that Chandler didn't even want Reagan to become a firefighter with him, and that she followed him all over as he tried to find a career that suited him. She even shared that over time, while Chandler and Reagan were together, Reagan didn't even want Chandler's family to know where they lived, and they weren't allowed to visit their house. But she's now sharing these disturbing details because she feels it's important for people to understand the dangerous situation her son was in, and that men are also victims of DV, not just women. It's still heartbreaking to hear her speak about losing her precious son, but maybe hearing her story will help others recognize when someone in their life is in trouble and may need help. I pray that Jane and her family continue to find the strength to cope with their immense loss, especially on the days when the pain just seems too much to bear. Here's Jane Kuhbander's interview after the loss of her son. Thank you for watching. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you on my next video.
Now to Georgia, where families were left devastated after two firefighters who were once reported missing were found dead. Firefighters Reagan Anderson and her ex-boyfriend Chandler Kuhbander were missing for several days back in June. Later that month, their bodies were found in Tennessee, where it was determined that Anderson kidnapped Kuhbander and shot him to death before turning the gun on herself, ending her own life. Tonight, I am joined by Jane Kuhbander, mother of Chandler, the victim in this case. Jane, thank you so much for joining us on the show. And on behalf of everyone here at Court TV, we are so sorry for your loss. And thank you for coming on to give us a sense. Maybe you can try to understand this tragedy. So first and foremost, how's the family holding up at this point?
It's a struggle. It's a real struggle.
I can only imagine. Tell us a little bit about Chandler. I think it's important as we go through this, we get to understand who your son was.
Chandler was an amazing human. He worked really hard to meet his goals and to be a better person every day of his life. He worked really hard to become a firefighter, and he found his passion in firefighting, and he loved it so much. He loved his brother and his sister and his new niece. He loved everybody he met. He was a great person.
Now, tell us a little bit about this relationship. My understanding from what I read is that they were, in fact, high school sweethearts at one point. They were together for a while, and then things sort of broke off. Take us through what you remember about that relationship with Reagan Anderson.
He and Ray had been together for a little over 7 years. They met in high school. My son graduated and they stayed together. They went to prom together, hers and his. She ended up, both proms were done when she lived with me for the senior prom. After that, there was trouble when she lived with us. It was just behavioral. And I just chalked it up to her being a typical teenage girl and wanting to do what she wanted to do. We helped her get to college, and she left for college. And after that, they moved to Atlanta for a little while, where my son was staying with her while she was in college, and it wasn't working out. In 2021, he had messaged our family and said he wanted to come home, and he couldn't find a job there. What he originally wanted to do was be a Navy SEAL, and that didn't work out. And so he came home, came back to Georgia, and Reagan couldn't be without him, and so she followed along. After that, he tried to go to be a real estate agent, and she followed, and he wanted to do something for himself. He ended up working for Walmart for a little while, and then found the fire department. And he had told her about it because they were still friends, even though he was trying to get away from her and trying to separate for some time. And she joined even after he said, don't join. And they ended up in the fire department together. And he tried to make lemonade out of lemons, and he helped train with her, and he trained her. He helped her become the best firefighter she could be. And she was very good, very intelligent. She's very pretty, and he cared very much about her. Over time, they had moved into an apartment, and Reagan wouldn't allow us to go to the house or to know where they lived. And so even though Chandler would come over for holidays, and, whenever he could, she would text him until he absolutely had to leave because she was blowing up his phone. And so we'd give her, I love you, go home, go back home. I know, I understand. And later on, we found out that during that whole time, there was a lot of violence that we didn't know about, a lot of violence that was happening from her. She had thrown PlayStations at him, hit him with a belt I had purchased for him for weightlifting. A lot of physical violence was happening on him, and he wouldn't say anything, and he would never hit her or hurt her or do things back. He did try to pin her down. There's 4 different times where a gun has been involved that we are aware of, where she would either tell him she was going to commit suicide. 2 of the times we were involved in, she sent a message to him, and we either went to go find her or we removed him from the home. So those were the 2 times. Unfortunately, one of those incidents, things could have gotten the ball rolling sooner for them to be apart, but because he tried to keep himself from getting hurt with a weapon, he was told that if he filed anything, then he would have to go to jail too, because he held her down to keep her from shooting him.
So, Jane, let me just jump in real quick because we're running out of time here. It sounds like there were a number of red flags throughout this relationship, and I just want to make sure we highlight something that I hope folks learn. It's something that we've seen more and more, this idea that it's not just women who can be victimized by domestic violence. Is it fair to say that this case, in terms of the way you viewed it, their relationship and things that went on, that your son was technically a victim of domestic violence, and it ended with domestic violence?
It absolutely did, and he absolutely was. And I hated saying that in the beginning, and I didn't want to put that out there just in case he did get to come home. But he was a victim of domestic violence, and essentially that's what led to his being gone.
And Jane, finally, let me ask you, is there some message? Again, the whole point is to come on and hopefully, help people understand what happened and maybe learn from it. What would you say to folks out there watching and what they could learn from what happened to your son?
Hear what's going on. Know that men are victims too, that it is not just women. Just because she's pretty doesn't mean she's not violent. Just because she's not bigger doesn't mean she can't hurt him. Always say I love you, because you never know when the last time will be. And always have those open arms to let them come home.
Fair enough. Jane Kuhbander, thank you so much for joining us. Again, we're so sorry for your loss, but thank you so much for joining us tonight. We truly appreciate it.